Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully. What I am about to tell you is not some weak little bedtime story. This is the TRH, the kind that shakes the ground under your feet. For years, America and India stood together, strong like two champions training side by side. But then, one Indian, one decision, one betrayal, it all came crashing down. The fake media won't tell you. The politicians won't tell you. But today, I will tell you EVRYTING, and once you hear it, you will never see U.S. India relations the same way again. So don't move, don't blink, and don't leave your seat, because by the end of this speech, you will know the Ariel Tirud H, the truth Trump himself exposed. You know, when we talk about the relationship between the United States and India, we are not just talking about politics, treaties, and handshakes in front of the cameras. No, my friends, we are talking about something much bigger. We are talking about two great nations, each with enormous strength, enormous potential, each with the ability to rise like giants together. America, the land of innovation, freedom, and opportunity. India, the land of wisdom, power, and unstoppable energy. When they come together, it is like two massive arms flexing in unison, showing the world what true partnership can achieve. For years, this relationship was growing stronger and stronger, like a body being sculpted muscle by muscle, repetition by repetition. Every year, the trust was building, the trade was growing, the cooperation was tightening like a grip of steel. But then, my friends, something happened, something that should never have happened. One betrayal, one selfish action, one man who thought only about his own gain. And just like that, what took years to build began to crack. It's like when you are in the gym, training hard, building your strength, and one wrong movement, one careless slip tears the muscle apart. You don't just lose the progress of one day, you lose years of dedication, of effort, of discipline. And that's exactly what happened with the U.S. India relationship. People will try to sugarcoat it. They will tell you, oh, it's complicated. Oh, it's politics. Oh, you don't understand. But let me tell you something. It is very simple. Trust is like steel. You forge it in fire, you hammer it again and again, and it becomes strong. But once you put a crack in it, once you betray it, that steel loses its strength. It doesn't hold the same way anymore. The strength is gone. And what caused this crack? Not the will of the people, not the millions of Americans and Indians who wanted to stand together as friends, as allies, as partners. No, it was one man, one decision, one selfish move that ripped apart what others spent years building. You see, the relationship was not just political, it was personal, people-to-people connections, families, students, businesses, military cooperation. These things don't grow overnight. They are like seeds. You plant them, you water them, you give them sunlight, and slowly, year by year, they grow into a tree that gives shade and fruit. But imagine someone taking an axe and cutting that tree at its base. Imagine the destruction, the waste of years of nurturing. That is exactly what happened. One person decided that his ambition was bigger than the trust between two nations. He decided that his hunger for power was more important than the future of millions. And in that moment, the tree came crashing down. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, but relationships between nations are strong. They cannot be destroyed by just one man. My friends, let me correct you. History is filled with examples where one man, one decision changed the course of nations. One Caesar crossing the Rubicon, one Napoleon marching into Russia, one Churchill standing up when everyone else wanted to give in. One person can change everything for better or for worse. In this case, it was for worse. This one Indian became the weak link in the chain, and when the weak link snaps, the whole chain breaks. And what's the most painful part? The betrayal didn't just hurt governments, it hurt trust. It made America question India, and India question America. It made people who once shook hands with pride start to doubt, start to hesitate, start to wonder if the bond was real or just a performance. That is the poison of betrayal. It spreads beyond one man, beyond one action, and it seeps into the hearts of millions, turning friends into skeptics, allies into rivals. When Trump pulled back the curtain and showed the truth, people were shocked. Because behind the smiles, behind the speeches, behind the promises, there was a crack that nobody wanted to talk about. And when you ignore a crack, it doesn't disappear, it grows, it spreads, until the whole structure collapses. That is what we saw, and the world saw it too. America and India, supposed to be standing tall like champions side by side, suddenly look broken, like fighters turning against each other in the middle of the ring. But let me tell you, this betrayal might break trust, but it cannot erase history. The years of cooperation, the bonds of friendship, the spirit of unity between the people, they are still there waiting, ready to rise again. But it will take courage. It will take honesty. It will take strength. Because when you destroy trust, rebuilding it is harder than building it the first time. It is like rebuilding a torn muscle. It takes pain, it takes sweat, it takes time, and it takes discipline, but it can be done. So yes, the relationship was strong, and yes, it was betrayed. But remember, this strength is not just about never falling. Strength is about rising again after you fall, and that is the choice we face now. The betrayal happened. The muscle was torn, but now it is up to us whether we let it waste away or we rebuild it stronger than ever. You see, the problem with our world today is not just the betrayal itself. No, my friends, the bigger problem is that most people don't even know what truly happened. Why? Because the truth is hidden, the truth is twisted, the truth is buried under lies, under headlines written to protect the guilty, under stories designed to keep you calm while powerful people laugh behind closed doors. That is what makes betrayal even more dangerous. It is not only the act itself, but the cover-up, the fake news, the illusion that everything is fine when everything is falling apart. And then comes a man like Trump, who doesn't play that game. Love him or hate him, you cannot deny this. He speaks what others are afraid to say. He pulls back the curtain. He points his finger at the stage where the actors are pretending, and he says, "This is the show, and here is the truth behind it." And that moment, when the curtain falls, when the stage lights reveal what is hiding in the shadows, that is when the people finally understand the scale of what has been done to them. You see, when leaders speak to you through the media, they speak carefully. Every word is polished, every sentence is prepared, every statement is designed to make you feel safe and quiet. They don't want you to ask questions. They don't want you to look too closely. But when Trump stood up and said the truth about what destroyed the relationship between the U.S. and India, he shattered that illusion. He said what nobody else dared to say, that it wasn't fate, it wasn't misunderstanding, it wasn't just politics. It was betrayal, clear and simple, and it came from one man who put himself above nations. Now, I know some people cannot handle the truth. They prefer to live in comfort, to believe the soft version of events. They want to say, "Oh, it was just miscommunication. Oh, it will be fine. Oh, don't worry." But that kind of thinking is weak. That kind of thinking is dangerous, because when you hide the truth, you allow the betrayal to repeat again and again. When you bury the wound instead of treating it, the infection spreads until it poisons the whole body. And that is what Trump was warning about. He was saying, wake up before the poison takes over everything. The truth is like a spotlight. When you shine it on lies, they start to wither. When you shine it on corruption, it starts to shrink. And when Trump shined that light on the betrayal of the U.S.-India relationship, people gasped because they had never seen it so clearly. They were told everything was fine. They were told the friendship was strong. They were told the partnership was unbreakable. But behind those words, deals were being broken, trust was being shredded, and the alliance was being weakened by greed and arrogance. And here is the part that makes people uncomfortable. The truth is not always beautiful. The truth does not always make you smile. Sometimes the truth hurts like a punch to the gut. Sometimes it makes you angry. It makes you furious. It makes you want to shout. But it is better to be angry at the truth than to be calm in a lie, because anger can lead to action, but lies lead only to weakness. Think about it like this. If you are training in the gym and you are lifting with bad form, you might feel strong in the moment. You might tell yourself everything is fine, but the truth is you are setting yourself up for injury. And when a real trainer comes and says, "Stop, you are doing it wrong, fix your form," maybe it embarrasses you, maybe it hurts your pride, but that truth will save you from disaster. That is what Trump did. He was the trainer who pointed out the bad form in the relationship between America and India. It wasn't pleasant, it wasn't polite, but it was necessary. And when the truth came out, suddenly everything made sense. The hesitation, the mistrust, the cracks that people had been feeling but could not explain, now it was all clear. The problem wasn't imaginary. The problem was real, and it had a name, it had a face, it had an origin. That is the power of truth. It gives you clarity, it gives you direction, It gives you the chance to finally stop living in the fog and start moving forward with eyes wide open. But here is the challenge: once you hear the truth, you cannot go back. You cannot unhear it. You cannot pretend it doesn't exist. Once the curtain has been pulled, you cannot clap politely and believe in the illusion again. That is why so many people are uncomfortable when someone like Trump speaks, because he forces them to face the reality they have been avoiding. And reality, my friends, is heavy. It demands responsibility. It demands action. It demands courage. The fake stories the media spin, they are light and easy to consume. They are like junk food. They taste good in the moment, but they leave you weak, tired, and broken. The truth, on the other hand, is like clean, heavy protein. It is not always easy to swallow, but it builds you strong. It makes you powerful. It prepares you for the battles ahead. So when Trump exposed the truth about what really happened between America and India, he wasn't just pointing out a betrayal. He was handing us the fuel, the raw material, the power we need to rebuild. He was saying, stop being blind, stop being weak, stop believing in the show. Face reality, because only then can you change it. And now it is in our hands. We know the truth. We have seen what caused the destruction. The question is, will we ignore it, or will we use it as the fire to build something stronger? You know, in life, in sports, in business, and in politics, there is always one truth that cannot be ignored. The strength of a team, the strength of a nation, the strength of an alliance. It is only as strong as its weakest link. You can have the biggest muscles, the strongest bones, the most powerful engine, but if one small piece gives out, the whole machine comes crashing down. And that is what we witnessed in the relationship between the United States and India. Two giants standing side by side, building trust, building momentum, building power, and yet it took just one weak link, one selfish man to snap that chain and bring everything crashing down. This is not about an entire nation turning against another. No, the people of America did not betray India. The people of India did not betray America. This was not the will of millions. It was not the spirit of two nations. It was one man, one selfish actor who decided his ambition, his hunger for power, his greed for influence was more important than the unity of two nations that could have shaped the future of the world. That is the danger of weakness in a position of power. One man with weakness of character can undo what millions have built with sweat, courage, and sacrifice. You see, when you build a chain, every link must carry the same weight. If even one is weaker, eventually it will break under pressure. The United States and India were carrying enormous weight together: trade, defense, security, cooperation in technology, energy, education, and more. This was not a small chain. This was a chain holding up the hopes of 2 billion people. And the weakest link snapped, not because it had to, not because of some natural disaster, but because it chose to snap. Because this one Indian decided to serve himself instead of the alliance. And in that choice, he betrayed not just one country, but both. Think about what it means when one person holds such power. You trust him to protect the interests of his nation. You trust him to act with responsibility. You trust him to put the greater good above his own gain. But instead, he chooses shortcuts, lies, deception. And those shortcuts don't just damage his own reputation, they damage the entire bridge between nations. When he fell, he didn't fall alone. He pulled down the trust, the cooperation, and the unity that countless others worked to build. And this is what makes betrayal so much worse than defeat. When you lose to an opponent in a fair fight, you can accept it, you can respect it, you know where you stand. But when you are betrayed from within, when the weak link snaps, it leaves a scar much deeper than a simple loss. Because it is not about strength versus strength, it is about trust being broken. And once trust is broken, the wounds are harder to heal. This one Indian individual didn't just betray a political relationship. He betrayed the students who dreamed of studying abroad. He betrayed the businesses who invested in partnerships. He betrayed the soldiers who trained together in joint exercises. He betrayed the families who believed their future was brighter because America and India were working hand in hand. That is the scale of the damage. One man's selfishness became the obstacle for millions of innocent people who had nothing to do with his decisions. That is why the consequences are so enormous. And let me tell you, my friends, history is full of examples of one man destroying what millions have built. One traitor in a fortress can open the gates to an invading army. One coward on the battlefield can break the morale of an entire army. One corrupt leader can turn prosperity into poverty. It is always the weak link. And unless we recognize it, unless we expose it, it will keep happening again and again. That is why Trump was right to shine the light on this truth. Because if we pretend it didn't happen, if we pretend this one man didn't play a role, then we are lying to ourselves. And when you lie to yourself, you stay weak. But when you face the truth, even if it is painful, you become stronger. You learn where the weakness is, and you cut it out, or you strengthen it, but you don't ignore it. This weak link thought he was clever, thought he could hide behind politics and excuses, thought nobody would notice. But the world noticed. The crack in the chain was seen, and once it snapped, everyone felt the shock wave. That is the price of selfishness when you are in a position of power. You are not just playing with your own destiny. You are playing with the destiny of nations. And I want you to imagine this clearly. Imagine two climbers scaling a massive mountain tied together by a rope. They depend on each other. Each step requires trust. Each handhold is life or death. And then imagine one climber decides to cut the rope because he thinks he will move faster on his own. What happens? He falls, but he also pulls down the other climber. That is what happened here. One man cut the rope of trust, and both nations slipped. That is why betrayal is so devastating. But here is the important thing to remember. One weak link can break the chain, but one strong link can also hold it together when everything is under pressure. That is the lesson we must take from this betrayal. Never again should we allow one selfish individual to hold so much power that he can destroy the work of millions. Never again should we put blind trust in someone without testing their strength, their loyalty, their integrity. Because the price is too high. The truth has been revealed. The weak link has been exposed. Now it is up to us to decide what we do with that knowledge. Do we let the chain remain broken, or do we forge it again stronger, harder, unbreakable? That is the choice before us. Now we come to the most important part. The past has already happened. The betrayal is real, the truth is exposed, the weak link has been revealed. But the question that matters now is not just about what happened yesterday. The question is about what we do today and tomorrow and in the years to come. Do we stay broken, weak, divided, full of mistrust? Or do we rise up, rebuild, and make the United States and India stronger than ever before? That is the choice, and it is a choice that demands courage. Because let's be honest, rebuilding is never easy. When you break a bone, when you tear a muscle, the healing process is long, painful, frustrating. It takes discipline, it takes patience, it takes hard work. And the same is true for rebuilding trust between nations. Once it is destroyed, you don't get it back with one speech or one signature. You don't get it back by pretending nothing happened. You get it back by showing strength, by proving over and over again through actions, not just words, that the bond is real, that it is worth fighting for, and that it cannot be broken again. The danger now is not the betrayal itself. The danger is paralysis. The danger is doing nothing. The danger is standing still and saying, it's too hard, it's too late, the damage is done. That kind of thinking is weakness. And weakness is exactly what the betrayer wanted, because when two nations stay divided, when they stop trusting each other, when they hesitate to work together, that is when enemies of both nations become stronger. That is when other powers, other forces step into the gap and take control. And then the betrayal doesn't just cost trust, it costs the future. We cannot let that happen. America and India together are powerful beyond imagination. They have the knowledge, the people, the innovation, the spirit, the democracy, and the willpower to shape the world for the better. But apart, divided, suspicious of each other, they are vulnerable. That is why the choice to rebuild is not just about friendship. It is about survival. It is about strength. It is about showing the world that even after betrayal, even after the weakest link snaps, the chain can be reforged, stronger than steel, unbreakable forever. And I will tell you, this rebuilding will take honesty. There can be no more pretending, no more fake smiles, no more empty promises. If America and India want to rise again together, they must face each other with truth. They must say, yes, betrayal happened. Yes, mistakes were made, but we will not stay down. We will not let one man's selfishness decide the destiny of millions. That is how rebuilding begins. Not with denial, but with truth. Not with excuses, but with accountability. And then comes the hard part: consistency. Anyone can make promises, anyone can give speeches. But rebuilding trust is like training every single day. You don't get strong by lifting the weight once. You get strong by showing up day after day, rep after rep, proving your discipline, proving your dedication. That is how trust is rebuilt, through action, through time, through sacrifice. And here is the beautiful part. When something is rebuilt after being broken, it can become stronger than before. Just like a broken bone, when it heals, it grows back harder. Just like a torn muscle, when it recovers, it grows back bigger. The U.S. India relationship can be the same. Yes, it was betrayed. Yes, it was broken. But if both nations rise together, face the truth, and commit to rebuilding, the alliance can grow even stronger than it ever was. Stronger in honesty, stronger in unity, stronger in resilience. But make no mistake, this will not happen by accident. It will not happen because time passes. Time does not heal wounds on its own. Action does. It will happen only if leaders are brave enough to put aside ego, selfishness, and excuses and focus on the greater good. It will happen only if people demand it. If citizens on both sides say, we want this friendship back, we want this alliance to rise, we want this trust to be stronger than the betrayal. This is where the people matter, because politicians come and go, leaders rise and fall, but the people are constant. It is the people who study together, work together, build businesses together, fight side by side in shared causes. And when the people demand unity, when they demand strength, when they refuse to be divided by lies, no single man can destroy that. No weak link can ever snap the chain again. So the choice is here, right now. Do we stay broken, pointing fingers, blaming each other, living in the shadow of betrayal? Or do we rise? Do we rebuild? Do we prove to the world that trust, once destroyed, can come back stronger than ever? That is the test of true strength. Because strength is not never falling. Strength is falling hard, being broken, and still rising again, unstoppable, unshakable, unbreakable. The betrayal was real. The truth has been revealed. The weak link has been exposed. And now the future stands waiting. Two paths are open. One leads to weakness, division, and defeat. The other leads to strength, unity, and victory. And it is up to us to choose the path of strength.